Oh yes, I think I finally got it working. I think we are live. So, what are we going to do today? To it. Okay, so this is my current directory where I have everything, or I have my OI installed. Sorry, this one is the one. It's where I have my OI, and how big? Better to look at it this way, maybe. Yeah. We have OI here, and this new release starts off with a new functions directory. Here we have a functions template which is shipped with the latest release. Here we have my Notion integration, which is the first that I've developed this for. But we will do a new one, and we will use the News API. So what is the News API, you might ask? Here we have it. newsapi.org. You start off by getting an API key. I have done that. If you are a private person or doing some research or test, you will get it for free, but you can make just some limited amount of calls to the API, and for our purposes, that's fine. Well, pricing. Developer, it's free. Articles are delayed 24 hours, and you can do 100 requests per day. But that doesn't matter to this purpose. And then you can get a business or an advanced if you're using this for some commercial use. Limit your search countries, sort by popularity and so on. But this is quite impressive search API. But that's not what we need. There is a second one for top headlines. And you can search for top headlines per country. You can also put in some categories like entertainment, general science, technology, and so on. You can search for certain sources like The Guardian or some other magazine. And you can ask for how many you want to see. 20 is the default one, 100 is the maximum, and so far I'm going for the default 20. That is okay. And then we have some information about how the response looks like, but we can take a look at that. I have a file already on that one. But okay, we have it here, I think. There is a status, there is total number of results, which is usually 20, or sorry, I think I've seen 38 from this one. And then you have a list of articles where each one starts with the source. This one comes from BBC News. There's an author and a title, and it's usually the title we're going to be using. A description, a URL to the article and to an image and when it was published, and something about the content. So what I'm trying to get from this one, that is a list of these titles. And then I take all these 20 and merge them together into one string and return that to UI, which will in turn send all of them up to ChatGPT for processing. Starting off with 20 shouldn't be too much, I hope. We'll see a bit. So that is the API. So now, why don't we try to test it? Let's start off with a curl request. Curl uses get as a staple if you don't define anything else. And we have the URL here. V2 top headlines. Country this time I say Great Britain. And then this is my API key. Wham bam. It returns all this into a JSON interface. So let's look about a bit more what it looks like this. So the first thing you get is a status, which should say OK. And then the total available, which is 38. But in this case, I only got 20 because this is the first page, which is 20. And then there is 18 more to be fetched. And then we have articles. And articles is a list of these kind of objects, where we have a source, an author, and a title. And it is the title that we really want. description with sometimes null, URL to the actual article, URL to any image if there is one, and date of publishing. This was 3rd of September, so it was yesterday, 8 in the morning. Jeremy Hunt, we will spend what it takes to make schools safe from crumbly concrete. Yeah, the British and their school system. So, this is what we are trying to get, the title, from all 20 things. Okay. So that is how and we have this template. Let's copy that one and paste. Then what should we call it? So what we want is we want a Python class, so a working Python file. And this is the template. We're using requests, we're using JSON and Unicode data. So we all need some data to send to ChatGPT, and that is the functions that is available in this class, and that is the function name here with a description so that ChatGPT understands that, and then it needs information about what parameters, what properties they have. In this case there are 2 parameters and there are type string with each of a description for each. And then it's listed which of these are required to be had. So if we look at this API, we want to get something called top headlines. And we only have one parameter for that one. And that is a country code. Maybe I went through that one a bit too fast, but there are a limited number of 2-character size country codes that are available through this API. So it's a 2-letter ISO 3166-1. So we have for the British Isles GB, for Sweden we have SE, and for the America we have US. and a lot of other countries. So that is the only thing I think we should use as a parameter, that is the country code. So we require and the parameter 1 is the country code. So there's one parameter. The second parameter we can just skip in this case. Like so. So what should we call it? Yeah, top headlines. Yeah, okay. Now, when you're handling this kind of API keys, they are secret keys and they belong to you if they have a monetary value at least. Since this one is free, it's not really that valuable, but anyway, let's put that in an environment file that we keep in the functions directory. So we open that file and we check for something called a line in that file containing news API key. That's a string. So in that file we just put in the rest of this line in the file will be the actual API key. And this code will actually read it in and split it at this equal sign, which is this one. So what is stored in the object's API key here is the string that is API key. Right. And then when we come to country code, we need to know that ChatGPT really sends us a country code, which is one of the really allowed ones, and not just something made up or that is not writing Great Britain or that it's writing USA or something else. We need these country codes. This can be done in many ways, but to get off on a good start at least, we can try. I've made a function here that checks if this country code is a part of this list of country codes, and I copied and pasted this list from the actual web page of News API. So hopefully we can check in advance that we have a good country code. And if it's not available, we can print that it's not available, and whatever ChatGPT tried to send to us. And then we should do an exit and just stop, so that we don't do some calls to ChatGPT in vain, or maybe a News API in vain either. We can do some more checks on this, more getting it better checks later on, but at least we're stopping some problems here. So the first thing we will do in the top headlines is to actually call this check country with the country code. So now probably we should have one perfect. And then it's time to start using this API from News API. And we're going to use top headlines. So like that. I'm copying directly the URL from the example in the one here. So URL is now, it shouldn't always be American or something else. We should use we should use the country code. So we have two variables, API key and country code. Top headlines, country code, API code, and this one is self. It is this one, self API key. Right, so this is the URL that we're doing a GET request from. And to do a GET request, That is quite simple when we are using the request API. And I've imported the requests here. So the response back from a GET request will be requests get URL, and that is it. Now we have to handle this request some bit. First, we need to get a JSON version of this. So that we have a JSON variant, which we can parse. And then we need to check that we have any responses. And if you remember this one, the length of these articles. Whoop. There. In this case, I will just make an easier check. I will look at this total results, which gives the total amount, because I will only do one, and as long as total results is bigger than 0, we should be fine. So, if we have results, we should then, if we look at the result again, we have a list of these kind of objects. So we should do a for. I keep running in that one. We should do a for article in the list of articles. So from those articles we can get the title that we were talking about here. The title. And that is a string. So what we want is to take all of these strings. So we'll make a list of these strings. A headline list. Sorry, I will just append this one. And this one is art title. And then append to this one. So HL is a list. Start off with an empty list, but at least we define it. So here we get in this loop, we will get a list of all these. So after we have looped, we are more or less done. Except we want to concatenate them into one string instead of a list of strings. So when we return it, we will give back, or we will concatenate them with the string of new line between each. So we get each headline on one line in this text string. HL. Okay. And if this didn't work, we will send back the stop sign, which is a sign that OI should not send anything back to ChatGPT, because they will cost. But hopefully we will get everything back here. Okay. So I think I have the environment file here, which contains my API key. So let's try to start up a Python here. We are in the normal field, right? Maybe I should... So, from... What are my files called? From Func News API. The actual... Oh, we haven't named the class. Embarrassing. The class name. I would like to call that News API. Now we have a class for this one. So from Func News API we import I hope I spelled it right. News API, right. There it is. So we need a variable to instantiate all this news API. NA OS not defined. Oh, sorry. We need to import OS. RP. Okay, it prints that where the function is. Okay, so we have the variable n now, and we can call this function top headlines. For a country. Why not check the US this time? Oh, I think we have some spelling here. No, check country. This is from the actual object, so we should do self check country like that. And call the US. Oh, I have some spell checks. Country code. You should always learn how to write. Or maybe I should start using an IDE, maybe. One day. Excellent. So we actually got these removed. Okay. So there are 20 lines from the Fortune, from CNN. Now it's a bit hard to read like that one, but at least we get them. Can we read some from GB? Yeah. First one's from football. Of course, it's Britain. And the last one about some ministers. So, the actual plugin works as it should. It returns a string that contains everything that we need here. Now, if we go back to our sweet little agenda, I can tell you that no, we can't at the moment, because there is a bug in OI with the functions API. But we can try. So if we start with a clean slate, was it top headlines? We call it top headlines, yes. So we can call the UI with the -f top headlines. The top headlines is the function that we want to call, with the question of analyze these news headlines, list common structure and what makes them compelling, get headlines from country code GB. This one should work. And it does, it calls, here it does call OpenAI, and it returns also with an argument to call a function, which is our function, the top headlines. But there is a bug in line 256 of the UI code, and I can show you quite easily what it is. 256 is here. This is the function to be called, and then we have the arguments. And sorry, these arguments are hard-coded after my Notion integration, which has these two, heading and content. It shouldn't be done this way, it should be done generic. So this bug I will need to fix in a generic way. Should be out in a day or two. I hope to get it quite fast. So that's why we can't run it as it is like that. But here I have some similar things to this one. Why don't we just make a new one? We call it again, like we did just from we have them here. So this is the actual call that we made to GB. So there is a problem with the \n. There's something with how we concatenate it. We shouldn't do / or \n. Yeah, whatever. In this file I have something that's from earlier this afternoon. Something about Burning Man and Erik Den Haag, Tesco gives workers body cams, and so on. So we have a text file here with some headlines that I got earlier today. We can use them and try a prompt. So we can use the normal n. Start a new session and put in that text file as info. And then I have a prompt here which I normally use. Copy from there. So analyze these news headlines, list common structures and what makes them compelling. Let's see what it does on that one. Okay, common structures. Specific event or incident, name and details, urgency and sensationalism. Yeah, that's British press for you. What makes these headlines compelling can be attributed to intriguing details, emotional impact, timelessness and relevance, clear focus. The combination of specific, emotional, timelessness and a clear focus makes these headlines compelling and attractive to readers. I wonder if they really analyzed these headlines, or if they just used any kind of headline. Because to me this seems a bit like some generic headline writing. It should be intriguing, it should be emotional, it should be relevant and in time. It should be urgency, details and so on. And often a specific event or incident, yeah. It sounds very generic. So maybe this can be done or maybe not. So basically there we have it. ChatGPT tells us to use the generic ways of writing a headline. All these standard ways. I will be out with an update of OI within the coming days, which makes this parameter calls very generic to whatever you choose to make for your function call. It shouldn't be hard-coded towards the thing I used to implement it. Sorry. Okay. I think we got more or less what we could. As you saw, it didn't take really that long to make my own plugin. That can be made quite easily. I think you should be able to do that, you too. So thank you all for joining in. I will be back with some updates soon. Bye bye.